The night he pressed me against the wall of that hotel room, his lips devouring mine with reckless hunger, I forgot I was a wife. I forgot I was a mother. I forgot I was a woman who had vowed loyalty to a man who trusted me with his entire heart. In that fevered moment of flesh and fire, I felt alive in ways that terrified me. But what I did not know then was that the man holding me so tightly, the man I thought I was controlling, would soon control me in ways I could never imagine. He would own my secrets. He would own my fears. And he would blackmail me to leave my husband. Before I go any further, I want to pause and thank every single one of you for being here. To all my new viewers, welcome. To my loyal returning viewers, thank you for standing by me. Your support is the fuel that keeps this channel alive. If you are new, I cannot wait for you to hit that subscribe button because it powers me to keep delivering stories like this. And please, do not forget to share your thoughts in the comments section right after this short hook. I want to hear your voices, your feelings, and your experiences. Now, let me take you back to where it all began. My name is Rachel. I am a 36-year-old white American woman living in the suburbs of Dallas, Texas. On the outside, my life looked picture perfect. My husband, Michael, was everything a woman could dream of: steady, loyal, hardworking, and gentle. We had 2 kids, a nice home, and what people called a blessed marriage. But beneath that polished surface, something inside me was starving. Michael loved me with a quiet, predictable love. He provided. He protected. But somewhere along the way, he stopped seeing me as the woman he had fallen in love with. He saw me as the mother of his children, the partner who managed the house, the person who made sure his shirts were pressed and his meals were warm. I longed for fire. I longed for someone to look at me with desire again, to touch me like I was forbidden fruit. That someone came in the form of Jason. I met Jason at the gym. He was not just attractive, he was magnetic. Tall, broad-shouldered, with dark eyes that pierced right through me. He was the kind of man who knew the effect he had on women, and he used it without apology. The first time he spotted me struggling with weights, his hand brushed mine as he helped. The electricity shot straight through my skin. From then on, the encounters became deliberate. He knew when I came to the gym. He lingered near me, whispered compliments that no married woman should entertain. And yet, I did. I entertained them. I welcomed them. I let them fill the hollow spaces inside me that Michael no longer noticed. One evening, Jason asked if I wanted to grab a smoothie after our workout. My heart pounded. I knew what it meant. Smoothie was code for danger. Smoothie was code for stepping into a place from which I might never return. But I said yes. That night was the beginning of my undoing. The hotel room was dimly lit. My hands trembled as he kissed me, but I did not resist. His touch was bold, demanding, nothing like Michael's safe and careful caresses. I melted under the intensity. I convinced myself that this was harmless, that I deserved passion. I told myself it was a fling, a secret escape from routine. But Jason was not a fling. Jason was a storm. The more we met, the deeper I sank. I would sneak out claiming girls' nights or late errands, when in reality I was tangled in sheets that did not belong to my marriage. With every kiss, every whispered lie, guilt clawed at me. I would come home smelling of another man, washing myself in shame before crawling into bed with the husband who trusted me. Then the shift happened. Jason was no longer satisfied with stolen nights. One evening, after another reckless encounter, he looked me in the eyes with a smirk that chilled me. "You are going to leave him," he said. I laughed nervously, brushing it off. But Jason did not smile back. His gaze hardened. He pulled out his phone and showed me photos of us in compromising positions, photos that would burn my marriage to the ground if they ever surfaced. "Leave him, Rachel," he whispered, "or I will make sure he knows everything." My blood ran cold. I wanted to scream, but no sound came out. The man I thought was my secret escape had become my captor. My affair had turned into blackmail. That night, I went home to Michael, who was sitting at the table, helping our son with his math homework. His eyes lit up when I walked in, and he smiled the smile of a man who trusted me with his soul. My stomach twisted into knots. I had betrayed him, and now my betrayal was a weapon in the hands of another man. I lay in bed that night staring at the ceiling, Jason's threats echoing in my head. How had I fallen this far? How had I handed over my dignity, my marriage, my family to a man who now held me hostage with my own sins? I thought I was playing with passion. But passion was playing with me. And soon, everything I loved would burn in its fire. The first time Jason threatened me, I thought it was just heat of the moment talk. I told myself he was bluffing, that he would never risk exposing himself either. But Jason was not like other men. He enjoyed control. He enjoyed watching me squirm. And he had no shame in using my weakness against me. The morning after his threat, I sat at the breakfast table with my husband and kids, stirring coffee I did not drink. Michael was talking about a project at work, his voice calm and steady, while the kids argued over who would get the last pancake. I should have felt safe. I should have felt grateful. Instead, I felt like I was sitting on a ticking bomb. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I knew who it was before I even looked. Jason, do not ignore me. You know what you need to do. I slipped the phone back into my pocket, my hand trembling. From that day on, Jason's messages became constant. If I went more than a few hours without replying, another text would arrive. Sometimes it was a picture of us together. Sometimes it was a reminder of what he could do to my marriage with one click. Other times, it was a demand for me to meet him. I lived in constant fear that Michael would see the messages, or worse, that Jason would send something directly to him. At first, I tried reasoning with Jason. I told him that I cared about him but that leaving my husband was not an option. He only laughed at me. You think you are in control, he said one night when I met him at his apartment, trying to calm him down. You think this is about love? Rachel, I own you now. If you do not give me what I want, I will make sure your little perfect life burns to the ground. Those words clung to me like chains. Every time I came home, I felt like a liar wearing a mask. Michael would kiss my forehead, asking if I had a good day, while my heart raced with the fear that it could all collapse. I began to overcompensate, cooking his favorite meals, being extra affectionate, almost desperate to prove to myself that I could still be a good wife. But guilt has a way of seeping into every corner, and Michael began to notice. One evening, as I was folding laundry in the bedroom, Michael leaned against the doorframe. Rachel, he said softly, you have been different lately. Is everything all right? My throat tightened. His eyes were filled with genuine concern, the kind of love I had betrayed. I forced a smile and nodded. I am fine. Just tired, that is all. He studied me for a moment longer, then let it go. But I could tell a seed of suspicion had been planted. Meanwhile, Jason grew bolder. He began calling me during family dinners. Once, he even parked his car a few houses down from ours and texted me that he could see me through the window. I nearly fainted with panic. He was no longer satisfied with secrecy. He wanted to disrupt my life until I had no choice but to choose him. The lies became harder to keep track of. I told Michael I was volunteering at the community center when I was really with Jason. I claimed I was running errands when I was parked in Jason's driveway. Every word out of my mouth was another stone added to the wall between me and my husband. Then came the night that shook me to my core. I was sitting in Jason's apartment, nervously sipping a glass of wine while he scrolled through his phone. He suddenly tossed it onto the table in front of me. My heart dropped. On the screen was a draft email, addressed to Michael, with photos of me and Jason attached. You see how easy it is? Jason said casually, leaning back on the couch. One tap of my finger, and your husband will know everything. My vision blurred with tears. Why are you doing this to me? I whispered. He smirked. Because I can. And because deep down, you want me to. I shook my head, my whole body trembling. He leaned closer, his voice low and dangerous. You think you can just use me for fun and go back to your safe little life? No, Rachel. If you want me to keep this secret, then you are mine. All of you. Forever. That was the moment I realized I was trapped. I had traded my freedom for passion, and now passion was a prison. Back home, I stared at Michael while he slept. His chest rose and fell in the steady rhythm of a man who trusted the woman lying beside him. My tears soaked the pillow as I wondered how I had let myself fall so far. Days turned into weeks, and Jason's grip tightened. He began showing up at places I never expected. Once, I was at the grocery store with my daughter, and he brushed past me in the aisle, whispering in my ear, "Have you told him yet?" My daughter did not notice, but my hands shook so badly I dropped a carton of eggs. Another time, he sent me a photo of Michael walking into his office building. The message read, "Nice husband you have. Shame if he found out." That was when I realized Jason was watching more than just me. He was watching my family. The paranoia ate me alive. I jumped at every phone notification, every unexpected knock on the door. I barely slept. My nerves were raw, my spirit breaking. Michael tried to comfort me, but the more he reached out, the more I pulled away, terrified that any closeness would give my secrets away. And then, one night, while Michael was in the shower, my phone buzzed on the nightstand. I froze. He would be out in seconds. I grabbed the phone and saw Jason's name flashing across the screen with a message. "Time is running out. Choose me, or I will destroy you." My hands shook as I deleted it quickly, but Michael stepped out of the bathroom at that exact moment. He caught the panic on my face. "Who was that?" he asked, drying his hair with a towel. "Nobody," I said too quickly. "Just spam." His eyes narrowed. For the first time, I saw suspicion harden into something sharper. Jason's threats were not just destroying me. They were unraveling my marriage thread by thread. And I knew it was only a matter of time before the truth exploded. What I did not know was that Jason's darkest move was still ahead of me. And when he played it, there would be no turning back. The morning the storm finally broke, I woke up with a heaviness that made my chest ache. I had not slept properly in weeks. My nights were filled with anxiety, my days with fear. I was living two lives, and both were suffocating me. I wanted freedom, but freedom felt impossible. Jason's latest text was clear and cold, "Tonight. You will tell him. If you do not, I will." I read the message over and over until the words blurred. It was no longer an empty threat. He had pushed me to my breaking point, and I knew he was serious. Jason thrived on power, and what better way to prove it than to expose me to the man I had betrayed? At breakfast, Michael sat across from me, sipping his coffee, talking about taking the kids to the park that evening. His voice was warm, his smile soft, and it pierced me like a knife. I stared at him, wondering how I would ever survive the moment he discovered the truth. My hands trembled so much I almost spilled my coffee. "Are you all right, Rachel?" Michael asked, his brow furrowed with concern. "I am fine," I lied again, the lie sour in my mouth. But I was not fine. I was drowning. That evening, Jason called. His tone was sharp, commanding. "This is it," he said. "If you do not tell him, I will show him everything. Photos, videos, all of it. He will see exactly who you are when you are with me." I begged him to stop. I promised him I would figure something out, that I needed more time. But Jason's patience was gone. "No more time," he snapped. "Either you choose me, or I will destroy you." My stomach churned with dread. That night, I sat in the living room, my heart pounding so loudly it drowned out the sound of the television. Michael was sitting beside me, flipping through channels, relaxed and comfortable, while my world was seconds from collapsing. And then it happened. Michael's phone buzzed on the coffee table. He reached for it casually, but his expression changed as he opened the message. His face went pale, his eyes narrowing in confusion. "What is this?" he whispered. I froze. I knew before he even showed me. Jason had sent him something. Michael turned the screen toward me. On it was a photo of me and Jason in a hotel room, my body wrapped around another man, my lips pressed against his. The image burned my soul. The room went silent, except for the pounding of my heart. "Rachel," Michael said, his voice trembling. "What is this?" Tears streamed down my face. I opened my mouth, but no words came. The truth was staring at him in high definition. I could not lie. I could not explain. The evidence was undeniable. I made a mistake, I whispered, my voice breaking. "A mistake?" His voice rose, raw with pain. "You call this a mistake? You have been lying to me, betraying me, sneaking around behind my back, and you call this a mistake?" He stood up, pacing the room, his hands pulling at his hair. His face was flushed with anger, his eyes wet with betrayal. "How long, Rachel? How long has this been going on?" I sobbed into my hands. "Months," I admitted, the word barely audible. He let out a sound that was part scream, part cry. The kind of sound that comes from a soul being torn apart. "Months," he repeated, his voice hollow. "While I trusted you. While I loved you. While I was here taking care of our family, you were in another man's arms." I tried to reach for him, but he pulled away as if my touch burned. "Do not," he said sharply. "Do not touch me." The children, hearing the commotion, peeked from the hallway, their eyes wide with confusion. Michael quickly turned to them. "Go back to your rooms," he said firmly. His voice cracked, but he stayed strong for them. When they were gone, he turned back to me. His chest was rising and falling rapidly, his fists clenched at his sides. "Who is he?" he demanded. My lips trembled. "His name is Jason. I met him at the gym." Michael laughed bitterly, a humorless sound. "The gym. Of course. And now he sends me this. So not only did you cheat, Rachel, but you chose a man who would humiliate me, who would shove it in my face." I tried to explain, but he silenced me with a glare that cut me to my core. "Do you have any idea what you have done?" he asked, his voice low and shaking. "You destroyed us. You destroyed our family." The weight of his words crushed me. I had betrayed not just a man, but a life, a home, a love that had been real and steady. "I am sorry," I cried, my voice breaking. "I never meant." "Do not say you never meant it," he snapped, his voice sharp as glass. "You meant it every time you went to him. You meant it every time you lied to me. Do not insult me with excuses." His eyes, once filled with love, now burned with pain and disgust. "You are not the woman I married," he said quietly, almost to himself. "You are a stranger. And I cannot live with a stranger in my house." The finality in his tone made my knees buckle. "Michael, please," I begged. "Do not throw away everything we built." He shook his head. "You threw it away. Not me." And with those words, he walked upstairs, his footsteps heavy, leaving me sobbing on the couch. An hour later, he returned with a suitcase. "My suitcase." He set it by the door. "You need to leave," he said, his voice flat, broken. I stared at him in disbelief. "You are kicking me out?" "Yes," he said firmly. "I will not have you in this house. Not after what you have done. I will protect my children from this chaos. They deserve better than a mother who chooses lust over loyalty." My body shook as I tried to argue, but his eyes told me it was over. There was no forgiveness. No reconciliation. Only the ashes of what I had destroyed. With trembling hands, I picked up the suitcase and walked to the door. My tears blurred the sight of my children's toys scattered on the floor, the family photos on the wall, the life I was being cast out of. I looked back one last time, hoping for mercy, but Michael's face was set in stone. The door closed behind me with a finality that echoed through my soul. I stood on the porch, the cool night air hitting my wet cheeks, realizing the truth. I had lost everything. Jason had wanted me to leave my husband, and in the end, he got exactly what he wanted. But not because I chose him. I had no choice. My husband had chosen to throw me out, and I had no one to blame but myself. As I walked into the darkness, suitcase in hand, regret clung to me like a shadow. I had destroyed my marriage, my family, my home, for a passion that turned into poison. There would be no forgiveness. No happy ending. Only regret. Only the echo of what I had lost forever.